Hello, welcome back to the channel, but more specifically, welcome to New Orleans. If you're new to the channel, my name is Jared. I'm a photographer and a coffee enthusiast from Louisiana. And if you're not new to the channel, then you know that I'm not from New Orleans. I'm actually from Monroe, Louisiana, which is northeast Louisiana. New Orleans is obviously southeast Louisiana. My wife and I had to visit New Orleans for various reasons, so this seemed like a good opportunity to make a fun video about what I think are the 3 best shops or cafes in New Orleans. Mine is Cafe Du Monde because, I mean, it's kind of obvious, Cafe Du Monde's pretty good, especially if you like beignets or just sweet things as a whole. It's a good place to visit. So 3 shops, not Cafe Du Monde. Here we go. First up on the list is Mojo Coffee. Now I'm recommending this place for a lot of reasons, but namely its location. It's located on Magazine Street in this nice little kind of bustling, almost village of shops. And everybody down there is really nice, really cool, everything's really clean. It's just, if you're looking for a nice, clean area to go and sit in the relatively quiet coffee shop type vibe, Mojo's definitely the place for you. So they're using a Black Eagle Arduino. I believe that is the pronunciation of that machine, but it is a 3-group espresso machine. I mean, it's really, really, really pretty, even from a distance. They're also using a Mahoning K30 grinder for grinding their espresso, so they've got a really decent setup. So Mojo roasts their own coffee, they sell it in retail bags, and they use it there in the shop. When I was there, they were using Madrugada on espresso. From what I could tell, Madrugada is an Ethiopian and Guatemalan blend, but it was very, very tasty. The staff at Mojo are very polite, very attentive. The girl even asked after I had gotten my drink if it tasted okay, if I needed to add anything or if she needed to remake it or anything of that sort. So very polite, very attentive, just 2 thumbs up. Well, 2 thumbs up. Now, if you're a photographer like I am, Mojo is probably not the best place to go to take photos. It is relatively dark in this space and the only natural light is kind of hugging this one wall close to the front. So there's just not a lot of natural light coming in, and if you're really into natural light photography like I am, then it's probably not ideal. But if you're not a photographer, if you're just a regular person who's looking for a place to study or maybe get an email or 2 finished or just drink some good coffee and just hang out, then it's perfect. The cafe is very spacious. There's plenty of seating in the cafe. The music is relatively light. I would say it's probably a 4 out of 10 on the scale of loudness. And they were playing mostly progressive rock while I was there. And lastly, the drink that I got a honey and cinnamon latte, and it was very good. It was very tasty. It was a little on the hot side. I know that's kind of a weird thing to complain about, but mine was actually very, very hot. So I had to give it a minute to cool down, but apart from that, very tasty. Also, an important note, I ordered a honey and cinnamon latte from every shop that I visited to try to keep things as consistent as possible. So just if I mention later on that I ordered a drink, you know what I got. Next up on the list is Mammoth Espresso. Now, Mammoth is definitely located much closer to the downtown area of New Orleans. So once you start moving closer to the downtown areas where you're really gonna start running into unsavory people. Mammoth is still plenty safe, and the street that it's outfitted on is a relatively quiet street, so you really don't have to worry about running into anybody you don't necessarily want to run into. But parking is a little bit of an issue, and you do take a chance on running into unsavory people. So the team at Mammoth is using a La Marzocco Linea 2-group espresso machine, which, if we're just being honest, is a pretty sweet espresso machine. It just looks really cool, if anything. And very similar to Mojo, they're using a Mahoning K30 grinder for their espresso. So Mammoth does not roast their own coffee. They're actually using coffee from Madcap there at the shop for both drip coffee, espresso, and selling retail bags. I've had Madcap many times before. Very tasty, very delicious, especially on espresso. So So they're using Ejoheza, which is a Rwandan blend, there at Mammoth for their espresso, or at least they were when I was there visiting. Like I mentioned, they have a really small selection of 12-ounce retail bags from Madcap, and they also had quite the array of Mammoth Espresso merchandise, which I appreciate. So the staff at Mammoth, meh, they're not really talkative people. They're not very interested in conversing about anything. Your order, coffee, equipment. They're just not a super friendly group of people. I'm not entirely sure why that is, but this is my second visit at Mammoth, and that's just kind of been my experience. But they make good coffee, so you know, I guess. Yeah. Now, this is the place to go take photos if you are looking for a coffee shop to go take product photos or take photos of your coffee or things like that. This is the place to go do it. Their storefront is just a huge window with a view of the street and some trees and passing cars, and there's green plants inside and outside. It's very, very, very nice. It's very aesthetically pleasing, especially if you enjoy natural light photos like I do. So let's say you're not a photographer. Let's say you're just looking for somewhere to go send an email or do some homework or edit a video or something of that effect. Then yes, I would say it is a really good spot. Now it is relatively small. The cafe again is not huge, but that's what I think makes it so good for stuff like that, editing or sending emails or what have you. I think it's a good spot because it's small, it's a little bit secluded because it's located in this massive building that you kind of have to go inside of to find, and there's good coffee when you get in there. So as long as you catch them on a not busy day, fantastic spot. Also, they were playing 50s and 60s music when I was in there. So now for the coffee. I did not get a honey and cinnamon latte because they actually won't or can't, I'm not sure which it is, make a honey and cinnamon latte at Mammoth, which is perfectly fine if they don't combine those flavors because they don't partner well with the flavors that come out in their espresso or maybe with their milk, or they just don't find that those flavors work for them. Then I get that. So if you're looking for somewhere that just has like a really killer cappuccino or a really killer latte, then Mammoth 100%. But if you're looking for somewhere that's going to have an abundance of flavors or things for you to try, no, it's not that type of shop. Okay, last shop on the list is Revelator Coffee. Now, I will say from the start, so far Revelator is my favorite shop in New Orleans. I believe this is my second time having it, and it's been incredible both times. Just a fantastic experience, so take that into account listening to the rest of this. So this Revelator location is using a Slayer 2-group espresso machine paired with a compact E6 espresso grinder. Revelator roasts their own coffee, so they're using Revelator Los Primo, which is a Honduran coffee, on espresso. I've never had Los Primo by itself before, so I can't really give you a great review on how it tastes just by itself, but based on how it tasted in my honey and cinnamon latte, it's fantastic. The staff at Revelator, they're super, super cool. Again, this is my second time visiting and I've had a great experience every time. Their staff is always interested in like talking about coffee and talking about equipment and talking about Revelator and even other shops. Like they're just a really, really, really cool group of people and I can get on board with that. So yeah. Again, 2 thumbs up for Revelator. Again, if you're a photographer, it's probably not the best. There's not a ton of natural light coming into the store because the only windows are at the very front of the store, and there's just not a ton of natural light coming through them. But if you don't mind having to stand right next to the windows to take photos, then it's fantastic. If you're not a photographer, again, if you're just looking for somewhere to go study or something like that, I still recommend it. There's plenty of seating. It's very spacious, especially at the bar and at the individual tables. It's got plenty of room. Also, the music, I quite enjoyed the music. It's a good mixture of like modern slash postmodern pop almost. And the volume, although a little louder than what I probably typically would have done, was still very, very comfortable. Also, I don't think I mentioned this a moment ago, but they do sell 12-ounce retail bags of Revelator coffee there in the cafe, and they also have a nice little selection of retail coffee accessories and goods like Chemexes and AeroPresses and filters and things like that. Lastly, the coffee, how was it? I got a honey and cinnamon latte. It was fantastic. It wasn't too sweet, it wasn't undersweetened. The temperature was perfect. It was very, very delicious. Probably the best coffee I've had on this trip thus far. And that's it. Those are my 3 recommendations of cafes to visit if you come to New Orleans. I think New Orleans typically gets a bad rap, but honestly, if you're looking for a city that has beautiful architecture and loads of history and fantastic food and plenty of things to do, New Orleans isn't a bad option by any stretch, especially if you're looking for good coffee. There are probably hundreds of cafes spread out across the city, and I've only skimmed the very, very, very top of the good ones. That's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make it a point to like and comment. Seriously, the comment part, I love when you guys comment. I love chatting with you guys down in the comments. And also make it a point to subscribe if you're not already. But yeah, you guys are fantastic, every single one of you, and I'll plan to see you in the next one, whenever that is. I'll see you there. Bye.